Here's the deal. Sales isn't about pushing harder, talking better, or flooding inboxes. That's noise, not strategy. Real business development? It's about presence, precision, and knowing exactly how the room feels before you open your mouth. Jake Stahl, author of Own the Room, How to Communicate to Be Seen, Heard, and Respected, has spent over 30 years training teams across 6 countries and 47 states, teaching solopreneurs how to turn conversations into conversion. Known as the mind mechanic, people who have been trained by him say he has the uncanny ability to break down human behavior and rebuild it into real, repeatable influence. This is where communication becomes your unfair advantage. Welcome to Own the Room with Jake Stahl.
All right, welcome to another episode of Own the Room, where we bring on the movers and shakers who control every room they walk into. I am pleased as punch to have Mark Dulaney on today. Mark is a personal drill sergeant, somebody who holds you accountable and makes sure you execute on everything you do each day. Mark, I need 10 of you, so I'm proud to have you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jake. I'll send you an agreement and we can work something out.
Sounds great.
As you said, my name is Mark Dulaney, personal drill sergeant. I'm also the productive pain in the ass most people don't know they need. And in saying those two things, I don't think the problem is people don't know what to do. I think the problem is people just don't do it. And I see my job in life is to get them to do it. The words, the questions, the marketing, the exercise, the eating properly, the saying I love you to your partner, those are the things that create a great life. I don't care how many seminars you take, how many coaches you hire. If you don't do the F, it rhymes with duck and ends in ing work, you're just going to be mediocre.
Wow. So Mark, we have a lot to unpack there. I'm really excited about this. So let's start with the work piece. So it sounds like you're an accountability coach, but kind of like on steroids. You don't just tell people to get it done. You kind of hold the whip or the baton and say, let's get you moving. Is that right?
And I get paid to do it, Jake. It's a beautiful thing. And I get paid to do it. But so I want to go deeper though, because
please.
It's not just the whip, because then when I'm gone, they'll still go back to their old ways.
Okay.
It's helping people understand what they're afraid of. At the essence of everything we don't do, we're afraid of something. And until we deal with that fear, we're always going to need someone like me in their lives. And I don't want them to be dependent on me. So I help them understand how fear is why they're not doing the things.
So that sounds, first of all, unbelievable. I'm really excited to hear more about this. So Mark, how do you start to do that though? This sounds like something you need like a psych degree for, or something that you need to do some sort of therapy. How do you get to somebody's base fear of moving forward?
I listen.
Oh,
I simply
that's
listen.
unique.
Yeah, I listen to what they say. Like, I don't come to anyone with my own agenda.
Right.
I come to figure out what is it with them that's going to help them get to the next level. I believe that's true coaching, where you actually are listening to the person. You hear them say this one word, and it could be different for everyone, or you hear the tone of the way they say that word, and you can automatically tell that's their problem. And that's something I'm innately good at. It is a terrible in marriage, but it is great as a coach.
I like the way you say that. I think it's funny, Mark, because the thing I'm reminded of when you say these things is that I'm so far in the jar, I can't read the label. It sounds to me like you just kind of read the label for them.
Yes. And I look at their behavior, I look at their facial expressions, and ultimately speaking, I think the biggest skill God has given me is to hear what people aren't saying intentionally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's walk this through a little bit. Let's say a client comes to you and they're saying, Mark, you know what? I get easily distracted. I've got the shiny nickel syndrome. I get focused on something and all of a sudden I see something new and I need the dopamine hit of something new. Where do you start with somebody like that to say, okay, this is the direction we're going to go and I'm going to help you? Where do you start?
So let's talk with exercise, because everyone understands exercise as being the same
great.
thing.
Yeah, let's do that.
And so somebody will say, I know I need to exercise, and I'll just say, start walking. And the first thing they'll say is, oh, I'm so busy, or whatever their excuse is, right? I'm too busy, or I live in Rochester, New York, where it's cold right now, or whatever it is, that's the first thing they say. And so we have to start with what they believe their reason is, whether it's busy, whether it's excuse. Because oftentimes when people don't start exercising, it's because they're ashamed of how they look. Like, I can't tell them that they're ashamed of how they look. I have to have a conversation with them to get them to say, wow, maybe I'm just afraid. Maybe I'm just ashamed of how I look. Maybe I don't want to be seen. I don't like the outfits I have to wear. So many people I've worked with, the issue with walking has been walking in public. It hasn't been the walking, it's been being seen. And getting over that first
Interesting.
obstacle is a very key component of that.
So it sounds like these very topics almost trigger something inside them, and it's not what they're saying is happening on the surface.
Correct. Because our excuses have to be good for us to live with them, right? You can't just say,
True.
you can't just say, oh, I'm just happy being overweight. I'm happy being out of shape. I'm happy feeling like, pardon my language, crap. We can't say that. So it has to be something else. And, the idea of understanding why someone fears, and I know is as a marketing person, as a salesperson, these things are all the same, but walking is just an easy one to identify.
Interesting. So why is it, do you think, Mark, that we have trouble saying that? Because one thing you said that caught my attention, which I absolutely love, is that people know what their problem is and you help them identify it and bring it to the surface. So I love that. But why do you think it's so cryptic for us? Why is it hard for me to say, listen, I just hate walking in public, Mark?
So stop me if I go too long on too deep on this. But
No,
so
please.
the first thing that ever happens with everyone is that we have been taught and conditioned to be who we are. You've done it. It's been done to you. It's been done to me. It's been done to everyone. And we are never taught or conditioned to be who we want to be. We're taught who those people think we're supposed to be. And that includes our parents, unfortunately. And so when if you raised in a household, so Richard Pryor, he's probably before your time, but Richard Pryor
No,
was
no,
basically
he was well within my time.
Richard Pryor said, if you follow an ugly kid home, you'll find ugly people who open the door. I don't say that. I'm just quoting him.
Yeah,
But I do believe if you follow an overweight kid home, you're going to find overweight people at home. And they
interesting.
have conditioned that kid to eat a certain way. Exercise is not a part of their lives. If you follow someone who's struggling financially home, there's a really good chance their parents were financially struggling. I'm a Black man. I grew up in the 1960s. There are certain things I still till this day believe what it means to be a Black man.
Sure.
Racism, sexism, all those things are nothing like they were 40, 50 years ago. But some of us who are from that generation still have, and we wonder, am I not being chosen for this? Does that make sense?
Oh
And
my
so,
God, yes, 100%.
and so getting to those things, one of the biggest ones, Jake, we both are marketers, we both work with marketers, is good people don't sell. They get standard jobs and they go to work every day and they do their 40 hours and
Yeah,
they do that.
for sure.
And so all these things are inside of us. People cannot easily overcome that conditioning. And that's my job, to help them condition and get over that programming, if you will.
Well, I love this because we talk about this on our show all the time. So I am a firm believer that business development is all about perception, conditioning, and the way we're coded. So I think those are the three big pieces of business development that are missing. So you are literally in the right place, Mark. So the whole audience loves this. So I guess the next step is let's say I'm heavy and I grew up in a heavy family. All right. And this isn't to slur heavy people. It's just the best example I can think of.
So
So
can I say something real quick, Jake?
yeah,
What you
please
just said
do.
is very interesting. We're not slurring them, but we do care about them enough to know that one of the worst things you can do to yourself and your future is be significantly overweight. So
Very
we
true.
care about them enough to say, here's why you should change. It's not making fun of them. It's really understanding the detriments of being obese and overweight for your future. So we care. And I think that I want people to understand that. I don't want people to lose weight because I think ill of them. I do it because I love them. I want them to be better. And I know 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to take a toll on them.
Great reframe. I love it. So let's take that and run with it for a second. So let's say that that's me. And I have an aversion to exercise. Probably part of it is I've never seen somebody exercise or make it part of their daily routine. How do you start to break that down, Mark? How do you start to get them, first of all, aware that that's the situation? And then how do you get them to start to make change, even if it's small and incremental?
There's a So the first thing is they have to pay me because they have to want to do it.
Well, of course. So they're
Right.
making a commitment, right?
Right. They have to make that
Yes.
commitment. Once
Got it.
they do that, I believe that's the first step to everything. Once they decide to write that check, I know I have someone I can work with. Then
Right.
it's to figure out what their daily excuses are for why they didn't do it on, let's say we're supposed to start on Monday, and I talk to them Monday night and they say, well, I didn't do it because of this happened. Okay, tell me everything that went through your mind.
Yeah.
And then they realize that, wow, Mark, that's BS. I really just chose not to. So hopefully we can do better on Tuesday. And we
Right.
go through the process until we get them to take that first walk. And guess what happened, Jake, when they do their first walk? They live through it. They survive it. Nobody laughs at them. Nobody cared that they even went for a walk.
Yeah.
And that makes the
Yeah.
second walk that much easier.
I love that. So you get them to take that first action.
Correct.
They get the reward for that first action of not being criticized or not dying or being fatally wounded. And so
Correct.
they makes them want to do it again.
It makes it easier to do it the second time. And I promise you, there's still some hesitation, second, third, but it's easier to get them to do it the second time than it is the first time. So you got to fight that battle with the first time.
That is amazing. So do you do this type of coaching, Mark, for people on personal things like eating and exercise as well as in business? If somebody has this, let's say, imposter syndrome, do you do it both business and personal?
So yes, to answer your question, yes. And just like people, the only thing probably harder to get someone to exercise is get someone to try to sell something if they're opposed to it, if they think that they were raised that they weren't supposed to do that. So getting people to ask for what they want, getting some men to say, I love you without wanting to have sex with the woman he's saying it to.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, it is
Um,
a good one.
so there's so many different things that we can help people with if we understand why the real reason they're not doing it is.
So, Mark, this is, first of all, it's amazing. And I think everybody needs a you. So let's
I
just
agree
start
with you,
there.
Jake. I agree with you on that. I agree.
So the second thing is, Mark, what happened with you that made you want to do this? Because I can only assume this wasn't at 5 years old, you had King written up on your wall and you wanted to be a coach like this. What happened with you that made you want to do this?
It was better than working a 9 to 5 job. It was better than anything I was, quote, qualified skill wise to do, like be an accountant or a lawyer, because I came from that background I talked about earlier. I have an associate's degree in med lab tech. I did that for a number of years, and that's not very fulfilling, and it only pays so much. So I wanted to do something bigger and better, and I was willing to suffer through it. I would say to ask why what makes me good at it. I think we're all wired a certain way, right? To a certain degree, we're wired a
Sure.
certain way,
I would
and
agree.
I'm wired to be very opinionated, very opinionated,
I love it.
and everybody else is wrong until they prove themselves right. And so to be a coach, to get paid to help people, to listen to me, like I don't want to sound like it's all about me, but it's just a natural thing for me to do. It was very easy for me to say, I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong. I think you should do this. And I realized that when people pay you for that advice, they take it more seriously and they're not as offended as when you just do it to your friends and family.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah,
friends and
makes
family don't
100%
like
sense.
advice from people they consider equal.
So I get that, but let's dig a little bit deeper because this fascinates me. But why a drill sergeant for a person? So you could have chosen a lot of roads to be a coach, right? You could have chosen a dozen coaching professions, but why this one?
Because I think it describes me more
Okay.
than the word coach. Like, I don't want people don't work with me because I'm warm and fuzzy. Like, I'm not going to attract people who are warm and fuzzy. And I'm
Right.
not going to beat the warm and fuzzy coach.
Yeah.
So I want people to understand that drill sergeants take 18-year-old, totally undisciplined boys and turn them into men in 8 weeks. No coach does that. I'm sorry. All you coaches, I love you, but you don't do that. You want to build as much as possible. I've totally gotten people who are 50 in their 50s who's never exercised a day in their adult life, and I got them to exercise in 2 or 3 weeks. I've taken men who swore I can't ride a bike, I can't do this, and I got them to run 10Ks, two over a Thanksgiving weekend. So,
Wow.
so these are the things that I've done because that's who I am. I I don't mind telling people who make more money than me, who are bigger than me, who are better than me at other stuff, what they should do or tell them what to do. I'm not afraid of that. And that's why I take the drill sergeant moniker.
And I would say that I agree with you 100%. I think that your approach is definitely very appealing to people who are sick of saying, I'm not doing it for this reason or for that reason. I think some people need that approach that you're giving. So I love what you're doing.
Excuse me. I'm going to argue with you, Jake. I think everyone needs me in their life.
I think everybody needs a variation of you, but I could say I know a couple of people who definitely, I'm not sure the hardline approach would work, but I love what you do. Like I said, I could definitely use you.
So, Jake, you said something very interesting. You said you're not sure the hard-on approach would work. It doesn't mean it's still not best for some people.
You're correct. Oh,
Okay,
I don't disagree with that at all.
okay,
Yeah,
good. We agree on
I'm
that. All right.
100% with you. Yep. So then let me ask this. So you get somebody to start to exercise. What have you found is the hallmark of changing that from a one-time walk to a walk every day, whether Mark's involved or not? What does it take to get from A to that B?
The first thing is all the people who love that person the way they are. I had a client, she said, "My daughter says I'm getting too skinny. You should stop working out." There are other people
Wow.
who people laugh at them when they go and exercise and they do this and they do that. There's a saying that turns out to be totally untrue that Canadian crabs don't drag other crabs back down. It's just, but the point that I'm making to you is people love you the way you are. And when you try to grow and do better and not do what you should do, there are people in their lives who try to drag them back down.
I would
The
agree with that.
saying misery loves company isn't a made up saying. Misery loves company.
Well,
And
I
so
would even go ahead, Mark. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, so one of the things to answer your question is getting them to either get the people in their lives to buy in or realizing that this is better for them, even if it's not good for the people in their circle.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not even sure I'll even push back a little on this. I don't even think it's just that misery loves company. I think it's that people who don't want to succeed or grow get uncomfortable around those people who do make an effort to succeed and grow. So it's not necessarily misery, it's mediocrity, and it feels good to have someone mediocre with me.
Yeah, mediocrity is a great word. We have to talk about that word later. But I think we're kind of saying the same thing. We're just
Yeah,
using maybe different
agreed.
terminology. The bottom line is people love the people they love the way they are. They don't want to see them leave them behind and go off and do something great
Correct.
because it makes
Exactly.
them look really bad.
Yeah.
I would say this: take a couple. One couple, both couples are kind of out of shape. They don't take care of themselves, and one person all of a sudden becomes hot. The person at home might like that the person is hot, but they don't like the way other people are looking. They're wondering, and rather than
Yeah.
join them, they decide to alienate them, and that's you got people walking down a path of divorce eventually.
Yeah, I could see that very, very easily happening for sure.
So I got something for you, Jake. I listened to a number of your podcasts to prepare myself for the show, and you have great guests who come on and talk about people in marketing and how they can do. And one that comes to mind is the gentleman, I don't remember his name, but he talked about making offers. And he talked about the high offer, the medium offer, and then the low offer. And like I thought that was genius. And I guarantee you 1,000 people have heard that. Maybe me and three others have actually done it.
Agreed.
And so one of the things that Jake, and you didn't ask this question, I hope it's okay to say this.
Sure.
At some point, coaching, podcasting, information becomes the success that we seek, not doing what we learn. And that's why people need someone like me, not have to be me, someone like me in their lives to take the information they bring in and help them put it and implement it in their lives and become good at it.
I love that. So then let me ask you a question. It sounds like you help people become independent enough to deal with these things on their own. It sounds kind of like you try to work yourself out of a job. You try to get people to be accountable to themselves.
I'd rather say it this way, Jake. I try to work myself out of the first job they hired me for, and then we discover the next level we can help them get to.
Very fair. I
Yeah.
appreciate that reframe very, very much. So, have you found a certain thing that people call on you the most? Like if you take all of your clients and you say, "Yeah, there's one particular problem that I see more often than others." Is there one that typically people come to you for?
It sort of depends on what I'm marketing on a given time and who the group is. My thing is changing people's behaviors, getting them to do the stuff they're afraid to do or hesitate to do or know they should be doing what they're not doing. So there is no one particular one more so than the other. It's
Okay.
just that that's the thing. They don't come to me for strategy. I don't claim to be a strategist. They don't come to me for, strategy. I'll just say it that way. They don't come for
Yeah.
strategy. They come for me. They come to me because they spent $2,000 on this high ticket program and they spent money on that high ticket program. They come to me to implement those things.
That would make sense. I know my fair share of people that spend money on programs and then those programs just kind of sit on their desk or they never get viewed, so there's no follow through on
Correct.
on what they're doing.
Correct.
So, Mark, one thing I love to ask my guests on the show is what are some myths that you know are out there that you just completely would love to debunk and just kill right here on the show?
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. Lay it on us.
Well, that would mean that if I got into a car crash and became a paraplegic, I'm going to be stronger. That to me, that's just totally ridiculous. What doesn't kill you just doesn't kill you. It doesn't mean it does anything else. How you see what happened to you can make you stronger.
Oh, I like that.
How I interpret what happened can make me stronger. But if I just say it didn't kill me, so I'm better, that's just fictitious, totally fictitious, made up thing. Um, One of the ones that I that I've learning and that I teach all my clients is purposely consistent is the winning formula for everything you want to acquire in life. Can you decide what you're supposed to do and become consistent at it until you get the results you want? Because when you become consistent at something, you learn how to do it and you get better and better at it. So if I can get a client to go for a walk every day, I'll have them running a 5 or 10K within a year. If I can get someone to say, I'm going to talk to 3 people a day, I can get them really good at talking to 10 people a day. If I can get someone to be more loving to a spouse, and this is really hard with men with their wives, if I can get them to love their spouse without wanting to have sex, I can get them to have sex more with that spouse than they ever had before in their lives.
So you've said the men thing a couple of times. So let's pursue that just a little bit. I am in full agreement with you that males typically do have that issue. You can send the hate mail to me on this show. That's okay. Jake Stahl. But why do you think it is with men that that's an issue? Because I know several men that this is a huge issue for them.
I think it's the same as with everything else. It's just easier to expect to get what you want without having to pay for it. I think that somehow or another, we as men, and by the way, I think I had some of that in my first marriage. So, and it's probably one of the reasons why I had a second marriage, and then why I now need a third marriage. But so I have a lady now, and I'm crazy about her. And my 2 marriages where I'm divorced has taught me that the more loving I am all the time, the more loving she is to me all the time. And I think that it's just the thing wired in. So we're married, so I'm entitled to this. We 2 are 1. I should get what I want. We don't feel that way on Sunday watching football when they want us to do something else, but we feel that way about them when we're in bed together. And I think that if when I get a man to say, I love you for no other reason than because you feel it, and I can get a man to buy flowers, when I can get a man to do things that are loving with no purpose, without asking for it, all of a sudden it gets offered to them more often. It's like so I think here's the thing. Sometimes we want to be right more than we want to get what we want.
I would agree 1,000%.
And I can tell by that smile on your face, you're pretty good at what I'm talking about right now.
Well, I was married once before and I wasn't great at it. And now my second marriage is amazing. But it's a lot like what you said. It's I do a lot of things that she doesn't ask me to do, and I do it because I love her, and it leads to a great relationship.
So can I give the men in the audience 3 things that always work?
Yeah, please.
Foot massages for no reason. Not the night that you give her a foot massage and then go to bed and don't try to have sex with her. Number
Yeah.
2, flowers for no reason. And number 3, just kind words of affirmation. Now we get into the whole love language thing, and is her love language words of affirmation is something else, but figure out her love language and just be loving to her. But I think the biggest thing is be nice. How about we be nice all the time? Be
Yeah.
nice. That's it.
I would add one more thing in there because I agree with all those. I would add hold the door.
Okay. Yes. That's to me, that's being a gentleman no matter who. But okay,
Right.
I
But
agree. I agree.
how many married couples do you see where the guy doesn't hold the door anymore? Not the car door, not the door to the restaurant, not the door to the house.
So I'll tell you a story. I used to
Yeah.
drive Uber through my cancer journey in 2024. I drove Uber, and it's amazing how many men will let their women walk around the car, get in on the other side by themselves, while
Yeah.
they get in the short side and don't hold the door. And Jake, I want to say this to people because I think it's important. It's amazing how many times those women who walk around the car are overweight. And
Really?
oh yes, it's amazing.
Wow.
Like it's statistically significant. The number of men, even if they're overweight, will let their woman walk around to the outside of the car and she'll do it and get in the car and think nothing of it. Like it's statistically significant. Not a small percentage of men will do that.
Interesting. I remember the first date with my current wife, and we went to a restaurant, and I opened the door for her, and she looked at me and she goes, I can get my own door. And I said, yes, but do you want to? And ever since
Man.
then, she's had no problem with me opening the door.
And so when I was driving Uber, I would say to a man, I would say to a lady, I say, you got a good one there because he holds the door. You'll be surprised how many men don't. And they'll
Yeah.
go, I know, he's wonderful. And so anyway, it's a
Yeah.
thing. People,
Cool.
it's a thing.
Well, we really diverged off the topic there, and I apologize. So, any other myths that you want to break, Mark, for us?
Um, I think I think there's a myth of what it takes to create success.
Okay.
I really do. I'm sure it is. I think that so a guy named Alex Hermosi said this to me, and it just I can't help but repeat it. Everybody wants the Jag, the Learjet, the house, the even the great marriage. Everybody wants the great body. Nobody wants to pay the price to get those things.
Oh, for sure.
And that's to me the myth is that luck has a role to play in success. It does. I mean, small part. You're in the right place at the right time, but ultimately somebody has to do something to create that success. And everybody wants the results of the success, but they don't want the pain of creating the success.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to get myself in trouble one day, but politicians play that up big time.
Yeah.
Politicians never blame their constituents who, whatever they did for their problems, they always say it's those people over there. I'm going to go, I'm going to fight for you, I'm going to do this for you.
Yeah.
And then they come back 2, 3, 4 years later and say the same thing again.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such a shame. So the biggest myth I think in life is I want to be successful, but I shouldn't have to do the work to create it.
I would agree. I don't know if you know Itzhak Perlman, since you're approximately my age, it might ring a bell. He was a world famous violinist.
I've heard his name, yes.
Yeah, and a female admirer came up to him and said, "I wish I could play like you do." And his response was, "No, you don't. Because if you wanted to, you would have put in the hours I put in. You would have sacrificed everything I sacrificed. So you don't want to play like I do. And if you did, you would have made the same journey I made."
So what's interesting to me when you say that is, so I'm 65 years old and nobody ever guesses my age. And I'll say this to anyone who wants, you never get tired of hearing people say you're a lot younger than you look, you look
Right.
younger.
Yeah,
But,
for
but,
sure.
but I get included into things like, because I am healthy and in shape, that they want to treat me like I'm younger and I don't get, I shouldn't have to help move the heavy stuff. And maybe I should let someone who's younger than me, but didn't take care of themselves have the seat. There's a lot of stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. I'm 65. Treat me like I'm 65. Don't treat me like I'm 40 or a teenager because I took care of myself and other people didn't.
Yeah,
Sometimes that sounds selfish, and I hesitate to put it out and let your millions of listeners hear that. But the thing is, I earned this body,
right.
and I don't want to pay again because I did it right and everybody else didn't. I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes sense or not. Maybe I speak
it does.
cool.
Yeah,
It's like you, like a successful person financially, we want to tax them more because they're successful financially. Well, they did something to earn it. They paid a price that other people don't pay. I think
yeah.
in a lot of ways, we got problems in society. We do things to stop people from wanting to be successful.
I think we have a big problem with accepting responsibility for where we are.
I would agree 100%. That's
Yeah.
what I've been trying to say, Jake. That's why you have a award-winning podcast and I'm your guest.
Well, it hasn't won the awards yet, other than in my own eyes, but one day. So let's close up with one big thing. If you had to just throw out a blanket piece of advice that would apply to everybody, like something that you would say that you feel could cover most people in the audience, what piece of advice would you give?
I think, and it's more than just a piece. I guess it is. I believe that there are basically 8 ways that we as unique individuals either create or feel compelled to create mediocrity.
Okay.
These 8 things keep us down, and it all originates from the conditioning from birth by our parents, all the way to then learning to fear things that will make us successful. Some of the stuff that we talked about, the walking, the asking for what we want, how we see money, all those things become who we are. And I believe they manifest themselves in our lives in 2 ways. And one way is avoidance.
Okay.
Why don't people talk to more people? Why don't people go for their walk? Why don't people be more loving? All the stuff we talked about, we already know we should do those things, but we avoid doing those things. The other end of the spectrum is the need for immediate gratification. People are broke because they can't help but spend money. They can't help but eat this. They can't help but do these things. And I call those literally in people's lives, they become their God. The God of instant gratification, the God of avoidance. I promise you, if you show me somebody who avoids stuff, they're going to struggle. They're going to live a mediocre life. Show me somebody who can't delay gratification. They're going to struggle. So they spend all their money rather than invest it for the future. And then those things manifest themselves in lives various ways. And, from we don't take care of our body, we don't take care of our money, we don't take care of our marriages. It also manifests itself in kind of like the way that what we go after. So everyone in their mind has, oh, this is where I belong. And as long as that conditioning is there, people won't try to go above it. Why are people afraid of being rejected? A simple told no. We'd rather tell ourselves no. Why are people afraid of failure? All those things get conditioned in us. And you show me somebody who's not afraid of rejection, who's not afraid of failure, that person is going to be more successful just naturally.
Love it.
I don't know.
It's fantastic.
I could go on for hours about that, but
I know
ultimately
you could.
speaking, my thing is helping people end their mediocrity. We have 5 behaviors, and Jake, stop me when I run out of time. We
No,
have
you're doing
thoughts.
good. Let's hear the 5 behaviors.
We have thoughts. Our thoughts literally cause us to look in a specific direction. We make choices. If we choose, we turn our life in a direction. I had a friend, and I always repeat this, he hates it. He was married. He used to say, I made a left when I should have made a right. And that meant instead of going home to his wife, he went to somebody else's house. He shouldn't have done that.
Ooh.
Well, he's divorced now.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
those choices turn out in a specific direction. We get to say words. The better our words are, I miss actions. First is thoughts, second is choices, third is actions. Actions move our life in a direction. So the exercise, the asking for what we want, the being loving, that's moving our lives right now in a specific direction. Number four then is words. Words are how we get people to buy into our vision of life and support us. So when you say I love you to your wife, it moves your marriage the direction you want. And ladies, there's things your husband wants. The more you do that for him, the more he'll do those things for you. That moves a marriage together. Selling, parenting, all those things require words. Words get other people to buy in. I'm a guest on your show because I said something in our one-on-one meeting that made you think, okay, let's try it, right? Those were words. And then questions start the process over again. Questions that we ask determine what we think, and it determines what other people think. So words help to get persuasion, but the right questions nail it in. So those 5 behaviors of who we are. The better we perform at our thoughts, the better choices we make, the bolder, more powerful our actions, the better our words, the more persuasive our words, and the more thought-provoking our questions are, the better a human being and the better life we'll all live.
Wow. I love that.
Cool. It has proven to be true 100% of the time.
Yeah,
You
that
bring me
doesn't surprise me.
somebody who's struggling, and I'll find something wrong, usually starting with the thoughts, if they're willing to be honest with me about what their thoughts are.
For sure. Well, Mark, I'll tell you, I love what you do. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think everybody needs a you in their life to give them a little bit of a butt kick to get them going in the right direction. So I'm a big fan. If people want to reach out to you after hearing you on the show today, which I'm sure you're going to get a couple of people at least, how do they get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
So I have I have a group on a platform called School called Ending Mediocrity. They can actually engage me right there. I have an email. I'll give my Yahoo email, which is markd6623@yahoo.com.
Okay.
They can reach me there. They can find me on every social media platform as long as it's LinkedIn, Facebook, and LinkedIn and Facebook. They can find me. And you reach out, have a conversation, and mention Jake Stahl's name, so I'll know how you heard me, and I'll know kind of like the concept of where they're coming from. Can I make a slight announcement? Would that be okay? It's okay.
Absolutely, Mark. Make it.
Since we talked, in part inspired by you and listening to your podcast, I decided to write a book. It's called
Congratulations.
It's called The 8 Ways to Create and Live a Mediocre Life. And it's going through the chronicles of how from when we were born up until today, we've been conditioned to be who we are. And
Love that.
I show them then 8 ways to break that and move on into the better thing. And I'm actually, if somebody wants to learn how to write a book, I create an alpha program to help them see a process of taking a book from your mind to full publishing. And I talk about the ins and outs, but I'm also writing it specifically to 20 and 30-year-olds because they're at the stage where they cannot make the mistakes I made. Number one. And number two, they can teach their children how not to create that mediocrity. So the movement is called Ending Mediocrity. If you go to endingmediocrity.com, you'll see all about it. You can become a part of my alpha program and really learn a lot more and see firsthand what it takes to go from an idea to a published book over the course of 4 to 6 months.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you luck in your book. I just wrote one that comes out literally in the next week. So
Wow,
it's a labor of
congratulations.
love. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. So say the name of your book one more time.
8 Ways to Create and Live a Mediocre Life. And a key point here is mediocre isn't comparing you to others. It's comparing the life you're living now with the life you really want to live. So I'm not mediocre in this case, isn't trying to pull someone out of poverty unless they're willing to admit they should be doing better. So the middle class person, the factory worker, the salesperson who knows, I should be up here, but I'm really down here. Those of you can't see, I'm doing the line a little bit lower. But ultimately speaking, Mediocrity is comparing the life you have to the life you really want. I want to help you get to the life you really want.
Fantastic. And Mark, I have every confidence you can do that for whoever hires you. I really appreciate you being on a show. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you having me, Jake. You're amazing. First of all, I've listened to your podcast, and I'm not just blowing smoke. You are an amazing man. You do some incredible things. I'm honored to be in your presence. I'm glad I met you, and literally our one-on-one meeting changed me in some ways inside, which is why I've done so much since we talked, because I didn't have a book in me when we talked the first time.
Fantastic. Well, I'd love to hear your progress, and you need to let us know when it comes out and when it's going to be available, and let us have you back on to talk about the book and promote it. We'd love to have you back.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jake, for your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks for checking out Own the Room with Jake Stahl. If you've gotten value from this episode, share it with the solopreneur in your life who wants to know how to communicate to be seen, heard, and respected. Review and rate the show wherever you check out podcasts, and grab your copy of Own the Room, How to Communicate to be Seen, Heard, and Respected. We'll catch you next week on Own the Room.